Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBears Casino. TK Tommy Chrysan. I'm Ronnie Rance. TK joining us from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge, as he does every Wednesday and Thursday, right over there by Parkview Baptist off of Jefferson Highway. I am coming to you at an undisclosed location, presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. I'll tell you this, I'm in a hotel room in Washington, D.C. I'm up here for the D.C. Mardi Gras Ball, where Drew Brees is the king, and he'll be going into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame this June up in Natchitoches, June 20th through 22nd, in fact. And we're presented by LeBears Casino. LeBears Casino, the Barstool, not the Barstool, but the sports book over at LeBears. Deep place to watch the games. Great food, great entertainment, and, of course, the Edge Lounge. Don't forget about it. Thursday, Friday, Saturday night over at LeBears, the Edge Lounge, the place to be on the casino floor. Well, a lot going on in the world of sports yesterday, obviously, with the Louisiana Mardi Gras Ball events and festivities up here in Washington, D.C. About 3,000 people from Louisiana and all that celebrating the Mardi Gras and, rubbing shoulders, kissing babies, schmoozing, getting deals and business done in Washington. Everybody was talking about last night, South Carolina, LSU basketball game. Over 13,000 in the PMAC. The Tigers had a 70-70 tie score with a minute to go, and then South Carolina put it away, and LSU didn't score. And the Gamecocks win 76-70, Tommy. And, wasn't there. Definitely wish I could have been there for that environment. Everybody who was said it was electric. It was unbelievable. But it kind of goes back to what we've been talking about on this show all year long, and that is you can't win at that level, beating the top team in the country or the top five the big boys. If you want to make it to the Final Four and win a national championship, which is what the goal was on this LSU women's basketball team this year, if you only have 6 players, and that's the problem right now for LSU, just the lack of depth.
Yeah, especially when you're playing the number one team in the country. You can get away with that against some teams and overcome it, but you can't overcome it when you're playing the team with the ability of South Carolina. Again, ranked number one in the country. There's only one team ranked number one. And the other tough teams, and there's a lot of other good teams in the SEC. So, if anything, Kim Mulkey knows that, and she's going to address it. And they're already talking about, well, if Reese didn't foul out, they would have won that game. Well, we don't know that. And then the other, they're talking about, well, if they play them in the postseason, which is, there's probability of that they're going to beat them if they play them in the postseason, But I don't know. When you got 13,000 in your own building, that's about as good a chance as you're going to get to beat them. Credit to the fans for turning out. It was a white out. They had the white T-shirts on every seat, and it was great for LSU women's basketball and for LSU, the brand, as we always talk about. As it's on ESPN on a Thursday night. Nobody's watching any other games. There was no football game. It was all about LSU versus South Carolina. And that's good for LSU and, of course, the program.
I don't know if you're an LSU fan how you can think, we're going to get them next time. I mean, this was the time. I mean, you had them at home. You had an 11-point lead in the first half. You blew it. They beat you. Now you're going to play them on a neutral site the rest of the way. And, look, as far as the Angel Reese thing goes, I mean, it's kind of like the Hack-a-Shack thing, right? Other teams know. You get Angel Reese out of the game, it's over. The good teams, the special teams. So they're going to be flopping. They're going to be doing whatever they can to get her to lose her composure. They're going to draw her in the fouls. And look, defensively, what are you going to do? You're going to pack the lane and double team her or whatever because the LSU can't shoot the three. So, and that's not going to change. The Van Leith girl made a huge critical mistake down the stretch, turnover when on the inbounds pass. That was a terrible pass in a tie ball game. LSU just didn't finish, and then and again, it goes back to at the end of the first quarter, second quarter, third. There's always that run that South Carolina went on in the last minute or two of the quarter when LSU is tired. They just don't have the bodies to be able to take a couple people out, sit them for a minute or two at the end of a quarter, let them get their legs back, or hey, if some person is, kind of in a little bad stretch and needs to sit for 3 or 4 minutes to regroup and have a coach in their ear, they don't have the ability to do that. And against a team like South Carolina, they took advantage of that and got themselves back in the ball game. I mean, they were down, 9 or 10 right before the half, and when 30 seconds, bam, South Carolina is able to cut it to 5. I mean, it's a huge difference. You go in back-to-back threes or something, back-to-back buckets right before the half, the momentum is now shifted to you, and that's exactly what happened. And that's a veteran team with a veteran coach, and they didn't panic, and they just wore LSU down. And LSU they got outscored 11-2 with Angel Reese on the bench at the end of the game. And there's just nothing else you could do about it. But a great atmosphere. It's unbelievable how far women's basketball has come at LSU, and particularly around the country. But think about it. I mean, Nikki Fargas was the coach just 3 years ago. Nobody cared. We never talked about it on this show. Couldn't have told you any players. 500 people might go to a game, maybe in a 15,000, 13,000 seat arena. And there was a coach making $800,000 a year, just robbing money, just stealing money from the school. Nobody cared. Nobody paid attention to her. She kept her job 3 years longer than she should have if it had been at a school where people cared about women's basketball. And next thing you know, now they're, it was $75 was the price of a ticket to get in the upper on SeatGeek a couple hours before game time yesterday. And $500 to sit, mid court. So, I mean, that's how far things have come at LSU. It's amazing.
Well, you look at the gymnastics, what they've done in the last 7 or 8 years. Now what Kim Mulkey's done. And 10 years ago, if we'd have been telling you there would be 13,000 people for a gymnastics meet and a women's basketball game, you could even throw in men's basketball game. People would have said, okay, you need to get off of all this bourbon behind you at Tremonti's, But, hey, it's good. It's good for LSU. It's good for those players. And they're going to learn from last night. I'm sure Kim Mulkey's going to go through all of that. And they just got to try to get back on the road right away. So, there's no time to rest. You got to turn the page and go forward.
We're not talking pack the PMAC free tickets either. These are paid tickets. That's the thing we talk about.
You could go to Albertsons, and if you bought anything, like a little pack of mints at the checkout line, they gave you LSU women's basketball tickets.
Right. Yeah, that's the impressive thing. It's not just the bodies; it's the fact that these are paid bodies. So, it was a great moment, and now we move on. LSU now with 3 losses on the season, and South Carolina now clearly number 1 in the country.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with losing the number 1 team, even when you're at home. And you threw your punches, and it was a game of runs, as they like to say. And hey, turn the page and go forward. LSU will be in the postseason. There's no question about that.
Big news in the world of NFL football. Raheem Morris hired over in Atlanta with the Falcons. This is his second stint. Remember, he was head coach at Tampa Bay, the Bucks back in 09-11, I think. And then you had, he was an assistant with Atlanta. They promoted him when they fired their coach back in 2020, and he coached 11 games for them as their head coach. We thought Bill Belichick. We thought Pete Carroll. We thought something like that. Nope, they go Raheem Morris. As a Saints fan, like the move, Atlanta. Like the move. If I'm an Atlanta Falcons, I'm kind of like, I like Raheem. He's a nice guy. But that's the best we could do. Yes, Atlanta, that's the best you could do.
Well, in Tampa, he went 17-31. No playoff appearances, okay? Dan Patrick made a point this morning. Are you close to winning the Super Bowl with Belichick or Raheem Morris? Probably with Belichick. Now, if you want a 5-year plan, we go with Raheem Morris. But, Ronnie, it's almost falls into the category of some coaches are better served to be coordinators. And, they're going to work with some positions, so, specifically. Some people, that's just a better fit, as they like to use that word. And maybe it's Morris, but obviously Arthur Blank thinks, he can make a difference in Atlanta. Falcon fans might be scratching their head a little bit today, but Ronnie Rance isn't scratching his head because he was fearing a Bill Belichick hire in the NFC South. And, Ronnie, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick,
and Mike Vrabel.
And Mike Vrabel don't have coaching jobs yet. And they still got Washington and Seattle open. Okay. Who would have thought that?
According to ESPN, none of those 3 are being really considered for those jobs. So all 3 of those guys most likely will have to sit out this year as a head coach. Maybe they join a staff as an analyst or a special advisor or something like that. But it looks to me like, and probably all 3 of them we expected to be somewhere.
at least one of the three, maybe Vrabel, because he's not as old as Carroll and Belichick. But, and then, of course, Harbaugh signs with the Chargers, for a lot of money. Now, Michigan's looking for a coach, and they're going to get hammered. That's why he left. He knows that they're going to get hammered, like when Pete Carroll left Southern Cal. And, so we'll see what happens with the Michigan job. A lot of people saying Brian Kelly's a candidate. If you look at the articles that have, potential Michigan hires, Brian Kelly's in every one of them. Personally, I don't think there's any way Brian Kelly takes the Michigan job, but I don't know that. I'm just making a personal opinion.
My thought would be he doesn't, largely because of what you just said. Everybody expects that Michigan's going to get in trouble or have some sort of ban, postseason ban or something potentially coming down the pike because of what happened with Harbaugh when he was there. Dave Canales named the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. He was the guy that gets a lot of credit for Geno Smith's turnaround in 22, a comeback player of the year in the NFL. Then he goes and becomes offense coordinator with the Tampa Bay Bucks, and Baker Mayfield may be the comeback player of the year in the NFL. And so they're banking on the fact that they need someone to help Bryce Young. They first pick in the draft. They need him to be the guy. He took a step back this year as a quarterback, and they need a whisperer. So they're going to bring him in hopes that he can get Bryce Young back on track.
It doesn't help the Carolina organization that C.J. Stroud did so well with the Houston Texans, okay? But you're right. I mean, Bryce Young did not play like they hoped he would. Not that he was going to lead them to the playoffs and make a run in the playoffs, but just I think his biggest problem every time I saw him play, he's not real accurate with his throws. And the number one asset for an NFL quarterback is accuracy, and he didn't have that much at all. I mean, did he throw some great passes? Yeah, he's an NFL quarterback, but not enough of them.
We'll talk NFL playoffs here in a minute on Sports Shorts Daily, but I want to talk about this Kayshon Boutte story that is just bizarre. Kayshon Boutte, I mean, it's amazing how the mighty have fallen. And he going into his last year at LSU, or he was expected to potentially be a first-round pick. Then he ends up being a late-round pick. Then he ends up at New England. He only starts or plays in like 3 games or so this year, and then on top of that, when he's got this controversy now that's followed him back to college. Why don't you explain?
Well, he was arrested for computer fraud and for illegal gambling. He was underage when he opened an account. I saw the arrest report. I was at WBRZ last night to tape a little segment, and it's not that I saw it, nobody else did, because they posted it on their website. So anybody can go look at it. So it's not like I had privileged info, but over 8,900 bets. That comes out to about 25 bets a day, well over $500,000 involved. And yes, he bet on games that LSU was playing, and he was in the game. Actually bet on himself in a Florida State game that he would catch a touchdown. He'd have over 82.5 yards receiving. Neither of those happened in that game, but you're right, Ronnie. You kind of summed it up. What a fall from the top, near the top of the mountain in his world to now, with a felony charge against him. And, sport, this is what I said on WBRZ. Sports has embraced gambling the last 5-6 years, from the NFL down. I mean, it used to be taboo for an announcer to make a reference of a betting line, okay? But there's still laws, and there's still rules and regulations. And if you're not 21 years old, just like at LaBerge, you can't go on a casino floor if you're not 21 years old. That's a rule. That's a law. Well, he opened an account fraudulently before he was 21 years old, and he was using a debit card to place hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of bets. Then when he became legal to bet, he opened up another account. His username was Kayshon Boutte 07. Not real secretive there. His username, his problem was he used the same card, it was his mother's debit card, for the legal account as he did the illegal account that sent the flag up the pole. FanDuel monitors that stuff more than anybody wants to know. I was telling somebody last night, FanDuel can look up, Ronnie, you and I, and find out every bet we made on this phone, how much and when, and who the bet was on, the detail. Me and you can't look that up, but there are people who can, including FanDuel, who have to have that self-policing thing. So he got caught. Hey, has anybody else ever placed a bet when they weren't 21? Absolutely. But they didn't get caught. Like Michigan said, other people were cheating. Yeah, with Michigan, you got caught. Boutte got caught. We'll see how it plays out. Now, the Patriots, who he's on their roster still, well, he was before yesterday, and LSU both released statements saying, we are aware of the situation at this time, no further comment. And that's what you expect LSU and the Patriots to say. But, turned himself into the police station in Baton Rouge, bonded out a short time after, and just a sad story. And somebody, a lot of people saying, well, Ronnie, when there's 80 million ads on your phone and on TV and on radio, and we're doing a show from the sports book at LeBear's, they're saying, well, no wonder it happened. Well, no, there's still laws and rules and regulations, and ignorance of law is no defense. You can't say, I didn't know that was a law. That doesn't stand up in court. I don't care what the situation is, sports betting or anything. So it's a sad story on Keyshawn Boutte. And here's what I don't know may or may not happen. We talked about this on BRC. I don't know if it got edited out, but you don't know if they go to Boutte and say, okay, you're in big trouble, dude. We can maybe make that a little less trouble if there's anybody else involved, if there, you give us any other info about stuff going on wrong, and maybe there is, maybe there's not. We're gonna have to let it play out.
I don't think anything's going to happen to him. I think people don't really have an appetite to make a big deal out of this, other than the fact that if he were to find that he bet against himself, if he bet under 82 yards, or if he bet no touchdowns, and then you go back, you look at the tape and you can say, okay, well, he dropped the ball and things like that, then that's where there would be an issue. But I think in this one, he's going to get the legal system will play out. I don't think the prosecutors are going to be super aggressive, and it's embarrassing and all that sort of thing. But I don't think the Patriots are going to not keep him on the team based off of this. They're going to maybe not keep him off the team based on if they don't think he's good enough. But again, because this doesn't, he obviously had a gambling problem. He knew he was doing something wrong that he wasn't supposed to do, because he was clearly using his mom and using aliases and all this stuff. But the bottom line is it's an embarrassing thing. It's a black eye. He's going to get his hand slapped, maybe a little fine, but I don't think he's ever going to jail. And I don't think the Patriots are going to cut him or keep him based off of this. Again, unless in one of those 8,500 bets, it's point shaving, which at this point it looks like it is.
What we got to hope happens is it keeps somebody else from doing something illegal. If there is some student athlete, not just at LSU, you could be wherever, and you're thinking about doing it, and you read this report, I better not do that if I'm not 21 years old. So maybe that's a silver lining.
Well, the big thing you mentioned,
someone else from making a bad decision.
The big thing you mentioned is, didn't they see that they found that he had $100,000 bet? Explain that, because that's huge.
Yeah, $100,000 bet that he catch a touchdown against Florida State that 2 games ago.
Not in the game in the Dome. Yeah.
Correct. And, of course, in the videos of that, and Craig Schilling just pointed out, there's video of him pouting on the bench during that game. Well, if you had that kind of money on it, you all receivers think they're open on every play. But if you bet $100,000 that you're going to catch a touchdown, you think you're wide open and you want to get in that end zone. So, but if they could determine there was any kind of point shaving, like we saw in Arizona State basketball decades ago, Tulane had a situation in New Orleans with that on men's basketball. We had the NBA ref that got caught with stuff, and if some of that is found out, and I'm sure that's going to get looked into, that would be the only significant outcome negatively for Keyshawn Boutte.
And everybody remembers how Keyshawn Boutte acted on the sidelines and all that. It was talked about big time 2 years ago when LSU played Florida State, and he was a diva and didn't have the big game and didn't have the catches and all that everybody thought. And boy, you talk about added pressure, and now it makes sense why he was being an ass on the sidelines. All right, let's move on real quick and give a quick take on the NFL this week. They got the 2 spreads. What are you liking, Tommy?
Well, first game, you get the Ravens -4 against the Chiefs. It's been 3.5 all week, just jumped up. I kind of like the Ravens because they're at home. Lamar Jackson's a potential MVP. Mahomes has been to 6 straight AFC Championship games, but this is the first one that's not in Kansas City. I would go with the Ravens -4. The second game, that line has moved up a tad. The 49ers are now a 7.5-point favorite over the Lions. 49ers are at home. I got to like those points, Ronnie. Goff's a better quarterback than Purdy. Deebo Samuel is a little backed up. Maybe they use him as a decoy. Maybe he doesn't play. So I'm going to go with the Ravens and then the Lions. I'm going to go with the favorite in one and the underdog one. I kind of like the over-under of 51.5 in the 49ers-Lions game as well. Both teams can score. Both teams' defense have had holes in it a few times this year. So maybe over 51.5. So Ravens are at 2 o'clock. The Lions game is at 5:30. Conference championship games. Punching a ticket to the Super Bowl in Las Vegas.
Andrews, the outstanding tight end for the Ravens, who was banged up, he is going to play. So that's probably has a little bit to do with the line moving there a little bit in their favor. All right, for Tommy, I'm Ronnie. We'll be on Sports Shorts Radio tomorrow. Hunter McCann will be over at the sports book at LaBerge Casino, 10 to noon on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. TK, tell us about Tremonti's on the way out.
All right, Tremonti's has the deer processing. This is the last big weekend of the hunting season. It closes next week. So if you get that deer, bring it on into Tremonti's. They're open Tuesday through Saturday. They can process it for you, fix it up the way you want. Deer processing, any kind of game you might shoot, but right now with the big weekend of the hunt, deer processing here at Tremonti's. Come get some lunch today. Stock up on some bourbon or some tequila. They got some store-picked liquors in here. Some really high-end bourbons. If you want to take a look at that, I got a specialty case of that. Plenty of wine in here. They got it all at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Your Chapman's Reserve steaks, your pork, your chicken, all your seafood, ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls. Hey, it's all here. Like I always say, if you have not stopped in here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, you need to do so. You'll be glad you did. Hey, don't forget to like and share this program, this show. It helps everybody out, all of our partners and sponsors. Like and share this show. Watch it at your convenience. Check it all out and connect with us on social media. Hey, stay dry today. Hopefully this rain will get out of here soon and we can see that thing known as the sun to come back out. On behalf of Ronnie Rance and everybody here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, I'm Tommy Chrysan. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning on Sports Shorts Radio. Again, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. We'll be at the sports book in the LaBerge Casino. Come on out and say hello. Get some bets put down. We'll be on the air. ESPN 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Have a good day, everyone.